The C-47.
Lawrence, what type of plane would you like to see take off? Do you have a favourite plane? Turn around, sweets.
Cylinders are cooled by the air rushing in the front of the nacelle. And if you, once the airplane's back on the ground, I'll point out something called cowl flaps to you. Those are at the trailing edge of the engine nacelle, and they're variable. You can open or close them to contain more heat inside the engine or more cooling. Here he comes from the right, the C-47 of the Yankee Air Museum in Belleville, Michigan. Right back. Swept back leading edge, straight trailing edges on the C-47. The co-pilot is Steve Zavara from the Detroit area. His great uncle knows something about P-47 or C-47s. His great uncle was Paul Banzig, who was in the 101st Airborne and jumped out of a C-47 in Normandy behind enemy lines on D-Day. The 70th anniversary of which is coming up in just 3 days from now, on the 6th of June. This particular Yankee C-47, the Yankee Doodle Dandy, flew 9 missions out of Corsica in North Africa. And the Yankee Air Force has so many airplanes here, I'm getting my notes mixed up. That's for the B-25 that you're going to see a little bit later on. We'll tell you more about the history of this C-47 as we listen to it come by. Workhorse transport, known as a DC-3 in civilian use, or a C-47, the Brits call it a Dakota. We call it a Skytrain C-47. I was very fortunate many years ago, right after pilot training in 1966, to come back to Pennsylvania to fly the C-121 Constellation with the Pennsylvania Air National Guard, only to discover that the governor of Pennsylvania's airplane at the time was a C-47. Operated by the Air National Guard for the governor. And the Air Force had accepted that aircraft in November 1942, which was the same time that my parents accepted me into the world. So I had to fly an airplane that was the same age that I was, and I am proud to have about 15 hours flying the C-47. They're going to continue this right-hand turn around and come back for another pass. The Yankee Air Force acquired this aircraft in 1983 and restored the interior as a World War II troop carrier. This particular aircraft, built in Oklahoma City, it entered the Air Force inventory until it was in the Air Force inventory rather, until 1970, when it was used for research by the University of Michigan. Restored by the Yankee Air Force as an award-winning aircraft that you see here today. I hope you've had an opportunity to see it up close and personal. beautifully restored and maintained. Going to continue this right-hand turn around and come back in front of you once again in a shallow left-hand turn. The next pass by the C-47 Yankee Doodle Dandy. This one he'll be holding the aircraft in a slight left bank. It's a photo pass by the C-47. And you may be looking at the engine nacelles and looking underneath and saying, you know, that looks like the landing gear is not fully retracted into the nacelles. And you would be right, because they don't on a C-47. They sort of come up most of the way, about 3/4 of the way, but a little bit of the wheels do stick out the bottom. But when you're only going about 150 miles an hour, it really doesn't make a whole lot of difference. Once again, you see our trainers taxiing on out. They're going to be taking off and heading back for their home bases coming up in just a few minutes. And as you may have noticed, the C-47 is beginning to slow down a little bit. That landing gear will be extended fully. And he's going to be starting, right now he's on a right base leg, 90 degrees to the runway. He's going to continue this turn on around and line up with the runway for his final approach. As the winds pick up immediately, watch the C-47. Watch that left wing come down slightly.
There he is. Going in slow motion. Straight over there.
Very nice. Touching down on the left main gear first. Putting that right one down. Beautiful landing. There's the second puff of smoke from the right main gear. Now he'll very gently fly that tail wheel down to the runway. Very nice. The C-47 Yankee Doodle Dandy of the Yankee Air Museum at Belleville, Michigan, at Detroit Willow Run Airport. We've got lots more flying coming up for you.